One thing that's happening in world politics is that there might be debates. There might be as many as three debates. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said on Thursday that he had agreed to three presidential debates in September and was awaiting a response from Democrat Kamala Harris's campaign. So he said, we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We agreed with NBC on September 10th, and we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. So that is what they are saying. Trump told a news conference at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida earlier today, and he said that he hopes that she agrees. So I'm going to bring in Steve Rao, who's here with me, see what he's got to say about this debate and all along those lines of the potential of a debate. And I also saw that apparently Steve Martin, the great comedian, said that he did not want to play or declined to play Tim Waltz on SNL because he's not an impressionist. So that's not his skill set in the comedy realm. So somebody else will have to play that role of Tim Waltz and all along those lines. But how are you doing today? It's a torrential downpour here in Durham, North Carolina. Imagine the same thing where you are.
I've been working all day. It's just one call after the next. So I just want to jump on and talk for a few minutes, and I got to head on out. I hope this year will slow down for me, but it may not be till after November. But just real quickly, a lot going on in the world. I think all eyes on the election convention starting on the 19th, and I think everybody is really looking for what the future is going to be for the Democrats. I think I hear good news about Tim Walz, exciting, the chemistry with Vice President. Of course, the Republicans reaching out, going negative on different things about him, that he had a DUI, did he own a gun, was he really in the military? I think the classic, but I think hopefully it's going to come down to Pennsylvania and Michigan and Georgia and some of these states. And I think it's taken the focus off of President Trump for a while, former President Trump. So there'll be a bump after the convention. And, I think as we're saying all these things, Ukraine Independence Day is coming up soon and different things we'll be talking about going on in the world. And I was hearing today on some news shows about whether the selection of Josh Shapiro would have helped with Jewish voters, but perhaps one of the reasons they did not pick him was because of hurting her in Michigan. So it's going to be an interesting race. Republicans are happy because they think it's too liberal. Democrats are happy because they think Walz has more experience and that he can appeal to moderate swing voters in the rural states, Midwest. So we'll see.
Yeah, speaking of being too liberal, I'll bring in one of our founders, Kim Calhoun. We've also got Jacoby with us as well. But the Squad, as they are known, and a lot of people think of them as being very liberal, and all along those lines, they suffered another loss. I know Jamal had lost recently, Jamal Bowman, I think it is, and then Cori Bush lost. And now there are some folks that are saying that there are others that could be targeted as well. I don't think the AIPAC has really gone after the young lady from Minnesota or some of the other ones. I think AOC is safe, but it seems like there might be a lesser Squad and all along those lines. So I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts about this group, the folks that is a small group, but they definitely had some power and they have lost two of their members and everything.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I mean, it could be, haven't really been following this race, but maybe it is a sign that, things are moving to the center, and that may be a good thing for the Democrats. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what everyone else thinks.
What are you hearing about the Stein and Mark Robinson race? It looked like he's definitely been trying to play a little bit more toward women's issues. I know that I've seen the commercial with Mark Robinson where he's talking with his wife and saying that he will be all right with abortion in the case of those that have been raped and those that have been in other extreme situations and everything along those lines. And he plays up the fact that he and his wife had an abortion early in their life and everything. So what is our take on that particular race? You would know better than I do. Steve. So what are you hearing about this Stein Robinson race?
I'm hearing that it's leaning towards Stein at this point. I think that what I'm hearing out there in conventional circles is that the vice president's candidacy is going to help Stein and reduce the Trump margin in North Carolina. Trump is still projected to win North Carolina, but I think if Biden had led the ticket, it might have been around a 9%, which would have put Mark Robinson most likely in the governor's office because he could have just ridden on the coattails. But now that you're looking at a number anywhere between 4 to 5%, maybe less, what I'm hearing is that Stein will most likely be the next governor. Of course, they're not taking it for granted. He is the protege of Governor Roy Cooper, who is going to be working with him every step of the way. I will say that Attorney General Stein will be able to lead North Carolina from day one. He's got a lot of experience, knows the office very well. The governor of North Carolina is one of his closest friends and mentors. So I think that's kind of the news out there. I mean, most North Carolinians, I think, don't want on-the-job training. And they want someone that's going to be able to go in there and understand how to set these agencies and deal with emergencies and things like that. So, but you never know. You never say never, Mark. I mean, crazier things have happened, but that's what I'm hearing out there. That Stein will most likely be the next governor.
So. That makes sense. Everything. What are you hearing out there in your world? Because I know you sometimes are out there of business in the world of science and other things along those lines. And of course, you just pay attention in general. So what are you hearing about the presidential race and the gubernatorial race as well?
Well, the presidential race, I did hear that there was 3 debate dates submitted by Trump. I don't know what happened to the original debate date that Trump dodged out of, but apparently he's, going and making up the dates he wants and the places that he wants and who he wants with. Originally with Fox, and now he's gone to 2 other networks. So I don't know what game he's playing, because I know that there was an original debate arranged, but this is a typical bully tactic. My playground, my time, my rules. But who knows? Maybe he has other agendas in mind, but what he did say is that they have not agreed to the terms yet. I watched his speech just before we turned this on. I watched his speech twice because I'm like, did I hear that right? So I don't know if he sent her terms that she has to comply by his terms in order to be in the debate, because the little tricks and games he plays. So I truly would like to see what those terms were, because he said, so I don't know if she's going to do it or not because she hasn't signed our terms yet. So I don't know what those terms are. So it's kind of like when somebody sent me a settlement and then they wrote memo on the check. And I go, well, I don't know what the memo is that they're referring to, because I never got a memo. So I wouldn't cash the check until I read the memo, because until you read the terms of what you're signing to, you just don't know. So, I mean, I would like to see what terms and agreement he's issued. All he did in this speech, he's been out of the pocket for 2 days. Not sure where he's been, but he comes out today and all he does is spread lies. I mean, I've already talked to David Walker about, this perpetual grossly increase of how many people have crossed the border. And quite honestly, I'm going to be upfront with everyone here. The border crossings have decreased tremendously this year. Tremendously. And I get this directly from family who live there. Okay. And they have been aggravated and irritated with Biden, saying all of these things. But I, was supposed to go to a family reunion, and I got word that it really decreased this year tremendously, especially in Texas. So, but again, he gets on TV and his mouth runs and whoop, things come out that I'm not quite sure are verified. But, he goes, 20 million. No, really, I think it's 40 million. And I'm like, who even knows? I ask David this all the time. Who even knows how many came across? Did somebody sit there and tick them off? And he goes, no, Well, then, okay, people need to hush up and let's get some reality checks in. And if you want to get them all together, then I would, apply an incentive to get everybody to come and sign in, and then we'll process accordingly. But, this making up of anything you want out of your mouth, like they are putting Kamala down for being the Cesar of the border. Does anyone know what she was really assigned to on the border? Let me tell you, she wasn't assigned to control the border. She was assigned to dig deep, research, and find out and discover what the core problem at the border was. She wasn't assigned this Cesar thing. She never even accepted it in that terms. When Biden had brought it up, she corrected, him years ago and said, no, I just want to make a correction. I am only assigned to dig deep and find the core problems, which takes years to do. And several journalists said that was just a setup for her to fail. But she was never assigned to control the border, ever. She was assigned to find out what the problem was so that they can apply it to solutions. So, people need to get their facts straight. Tim Walz, let's talk about that. They sit there and they go on and on about his valor. Well, he served 24 years. And then, I heard Steve, whether he was in the service or not. The National Guard, Army National Guard, is the service. And he's been more than every other weekend in there. I heard Dan make a rude comment this morning. But I've got several people in my family that are either in the military or the reserves, or they do the military, then the reserves. And the reserves can be just as tedious. And guess what? They can deploy you anytime. And you could be away from your family for 6 months, a year, 2 years. You're owned by the government. But Tim Walz was part of the American National Guard for 24 years in good standings. And in 2005, very early in 2005, he decided he wanted to apply and run for Congress. And at the same time, or just before, he turned in his, I want to retire now. Over 20 years, I think you can retire. So he turned in his paperwork. In February, March, get your timelines and dates, right? A notice came out that there would be a deployment sometime that year, but he had already turned in his notice. But when the deployment paperwork came in, I think May, he wrote a letter and said, I understand that there's a deployment to Iraq. I I've already got everything done and I'm running for Congress. But if you deem it necessary for me to continue and go to Iraq, I will. And I'll just make do with what I got, but I'm not going to give up my Congress campaign because, that was, I guess, his life dream. I don't know. But what I can say is that he had all the paperwork in prior to the deployment. So to try to degrade a man who put 24 years of his life into a service, I think is disgraceful, distasteful. And, people like that just shouldn't even exist to speak. They really shouldn't. But that's my mouthful for the next, there is somebody else's turn. But I just want people to know to look up the facts. Get your facts. And I got the letter that he wrote to them. It's everywhere. It's published. You can go look at it. But he wrote a letter saying, I understand, but he was not going to give up his run for Congress. But he had already put in his paperwork to retire. So to say he dodged is nothing. And he did deploy to other during other war times. Deployment, you don't get to pick. You don't know whether you're going to go into the war zone, outside of the war zone, to protect another country. But he's been deployed more than once that I'm aware of. You can go Google this stuff. And for anyone to degrade his service like that should be shameful. Vance only gave 4 years, but I shouldn't say only 4 years, should I? It was in the Marines, and I guess he went to Iraq, but he went. And the other thing you got to look at is Tim Walz was a sergeant major, okay, a sergeant major. Vance was a corporal. So, but Walz gave his life to the service. And to sit there and degrade it, I think is disgraceful. Anyway,
That makes,
I'm done.
well, that makes a lot of sense.
Off my soapbox.
I do know that Tim Walz did step down from the Democratic Governors Association. I think the woman from Kansas has taken over that job because, of course, now he's going to be out on the campaign trail. So it made sense for him to step down because he was the head of the Democratic Governors Association. And actually, a lot of people said that that association is the one that was meeting with Biden at the time they were trying to decide whether he was going to step down and all along those lines as a presidential candidate. But yeah, he did step down. I think that was earlier today and everything. So I do believe it is the governor of Kansas, who is a lady governor, that is taking over the lead of that and everything in that space. But what's your take on things, Sasha and Jacoby? What are y'all hearing about the election and just world politics in general? So whichever one of you wants to go first, I guess I'll defer to Sasha first. So Sasha, what are you hearing?
Okay, if you want to talk about DJ, what's his name? DJ, what is it? Vance, DJ Vance.
J.D. Vance.
So you said that he was in military for 4 years, including Iraq. What was his title and what were his duties during those 4 years? Anybody knows him?
Corporal, and I think communications and PR.
What that exactly means? What he was doing from 9 to 5? What was his day like?
Communications and PR is kind of like the person who communicates to media and PR work for, the people.
Supposedly, yes.
PR.
But it wasn't his duty. No, that's not what he was doing. He was editing the newsletter which was going to troops who were fighting
Right,
there.
PR work.
He was checking spelling mistakes. That was his duty in Iraq. That's how he was fighting for the United States of America. Checking
you.
spelling mistakes. Full stop, period. This type of person is now being elevated through all the clever manipulations from people like Peter Thiel and all that stuff who made him a venture capitalist. So tell me, please, a lot of people see a way to American politics as to, first of all, to make a lot of money. Helping American people and all that stuff that comes with it, but you may just dismiss it. It's nothing. It's just a talk to make money. That's the name of the game. So for someone like Walz, basically, it's a meat and potato man. He never made any serious money in his life. He was teacher. He was coach of a football team. Nothing wrong with that. But that's what he was doing for life. So his move to politics, you can explain. Now, the great venture capitalist Vance, who supposedly was making tens of millions of dollars every half an hour, why that guy went into politics? Because obviously he would not make as much money in politics as he was doing as a venture capitalist. Or maybe I'm wrong, maybe he was not making that much money as a venture capitalist. Did he start Facebook? Did he start Google? What did he do as a venture capitalist? He was shuffling papers in his office. And when a friend of Peter Thiel asked how this new guy, how is he doing? He's shuffling papers back and forth. He's okay. And then finally, because of his loud mouth, they saw him as a potential for U.S. politics. So they obviously, okay, your time as a venture capitalist is done over. Thank you very much. Now march into politics, and we will tell you what to do. He is, he's funny. It's not a real man. Walz is a real man, whatever he says, that's what he thinks. That guy, Vance, DJ Vance, is a phony, is a fraud. And he should not be allowed to enter US politics, period. And he is just the same weird as his partner Trump. Two weirdos. That's what is a Republican ticket.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
What you got to say about this?
If you watch this televised speech that Trump just gave, it was pretty funny because he sat there and he goes, I don't even know why they picked Kamala. All she did was run Trump into the ground when they were campaigning for president. And she said all these rude and horrible things about him, calling him racist. And I'm like, what did JD Vance do to you? I mean, come on. We heard him yelling that you're the biggest idiot in the world. I mean, it's everything. I don't know how people fall in to believe every word he says when you have evidence right there to prove everything he said is wrong. I mean, they not only fall into it, they believe it like it's the only word. And I don't know where this comes from. It's kind of scary, actually. It helps me isolate a lot of things in my life because I don't want to be with people who sit there and go, oh, yes, yes, oh, yes, yes, Trump. I can't. I just can't. You know, especially when he's out and out lying. I mean, the whole world knows, even his people know that JD ran him into the ground. So for him to come around and say Kamala ran Biden into the ground, I guess that was just campaign, game fair. But I think that there's a lot that we have to research.
Well, speaking of research,
Nobody researches.
He got into trouble recently. Trump did because at one of his campaign rallies, apparently they did not hire union hands, and there was some signage problem that came up because I want to say that it looked like it was a Harris rally because the sign actually had Kamala up on there and everything. So there has been some pushback about that because definitely I think even some of the people that are members of the stagehand union said that's what you get when you don't hire stagehand union folks, is that there's nobody to do kind of like that checking around and making sure that things
That
are
was done on purpose.
Huh?
That was done on purpose. You know that.
No,
Somebody did that on purpose. That was funny. But but he's been missing in action for the last 2 days. There've been comments about it on some of the TV networks, and then all of a sudden he shows up, but not one word out of his mouth of what he's going to do. He just said, "I'm gravely scared." I mean, literally, I just watched it. I mean, I'm gravely scared that, all these wars, we're going to be in another third world war. We're going to be taken over. This is just very scary. And I'm like, this is, again, weird. I mean, now I feel like I can't use that word anymore. But it is very weird. Just
And
very
don't
weird.
forget that Trump is not the same as
Did
he
anyone
was
watch it?
8 years ago in 2016. This is really an old man with a low energy. And when Biden was in play, so Trump compared to Biden, he looks like a kind of energetic man. He's talking, he's dancing, he's doing all kind of stuff. Now when Biden is out and he's exposed, he's a little old man. Nobody on international scene, he's next to nothing. Nobody is going to even talk to him, except maybe one or two leaders of other countries. He was talking about something to make it a peace between Russia and Ukraine in one day. Well, I have news for you. First of all, the day will never come because he is not going to be a president. And if he's not president, there is no business for him to make peace in 1 day or 2 days or 25 days or whatever. It's all done. Now, there is a news happened in Ukraine and Russia. Ukrainian army moved decisively on Russian territory. Full stop, period. They never ask United States if they can do it or European powers, wherever they are. They just moved in. It's a region of Kursk, which just south of Moscow. It's a borderline between Moscow region and Kursk region. So they now occupied about 200 square kilometers of Kursk region. Now they're bringing their all artillery, tanks, and uh, heavy ammunition there. And seems to me that Russia now has to get a lot of people, a lot of soldiers out of front where they're trying to get ahead in Kharkiv and other regions of Ukraine. They have to now bring them back, fight this. And so far, very unsuccessfully because Ukrainians digged in. They're already building the um, all kind of defensive structures. It's not going to be easy to penetrate, and they're bringing more and more the soldiers, ammunition, and now they have F-16s, so that could be very helpful as well. Now, whether this is a real attack or just trying to deflect Russians from what they're trying to do near Kharkiv, or furthermore, to have another point of attack on Crimea, south. And it seems to me that Russians are being absolutely stand by that. Putin is absolutely incommunicated. He is not communicating with anybody. And situation is so insane from the Russian point of view. They don't know what they're dealing with. And it seems to me that Ukraine will develop even further these attacks because there is a lot of other regions of Russia. They're all very, very vulnerable because all the soldiers are used on Ukrainian front in Ukraine. So now they have to bring them back because they don't have any new armies, because they don't have any experience really how to fight. So they will be all killed in a matter of half an hour. So they have to bring back the troops, and that will definitely make their position in Ukraine much more vulnerable. That's what's really happening there. Hello, Mr. Trump. Do you still have any ideas to finish the war in one day? Hello. Just
I know, right? But that's interesting that Ukraine took that initiative, and it didn't hurt them right now. Like they took a strong position, but I think they strategically planned everything. Kind of like one of those situations where they made everybody think that they were weaker than what they really were, and then they crossed over. Sounds like Russia's whining a little bit about it, but you know
also,
what I
they
mean?
even
Like
go
I
for help
hear
to
a lot of whining.
there is North Korea, Iran, maybe, or some other countries that may help Russia or may not. I'm not sure.
They might not help them. They might do something else.
I
Hey,
don't, well, they belong to BRICS, so I'm curious to see how BRICS will move in to play a role in this because, that's their NATO basically, right? But I'm curious to see how members of BRICS are going to jump up and get involved.
Now that BRICS is a huge myth. There is nothing behind it. What can unite countries
I
of
think they just
diverse?
get together and have parties.
we got
Yeah, I think that they do get together and have parties once a year. But now I don't think it's a myth. I just don't think they're as united as everybody says they are. Because when you're
But
the kind of
okay,
country that these people are, who are right,
okay.
you just can't. It's kind of like pirates, right? Can you trust the other pirate? Seriously,
I mean, what would they
BRICS to
be?
me is a group of pirates.
Okay,
What
if
would
you
they be
take
united on?
European
Because
Union, you see people with a similar history, with a geographically they're located with each other, so on. What can unite countries as diverse, as far out of each other, like Russia over here, Brazil is over there, and who else is there? The South African Republic, which is nothing.
India, South
You
Africa,
have China. China is for itself. It's not going to do anything for Russia or Brazil or anybody else. Who else is there? India. India is going to do something for themselves only. They're not going to do anything for Russia or China or anybody else. So this is a myth. There's nothing that can unite that countries that don't have any common interests. It's the same thing. If you take together let's see, chimpanzee, orangutan, gorilla, and so macaque, or at least any other primates. Uh, they look more or less alike, but they're not the same. And I don't see how they can have a common interest. I'm not sure if
Right.
they can communicate with each other because this orangutan and chimpanzees they have different languages and different sounds, same as Brazilians and Russians. So this is the same myth as put together all these gorillas and chimpanzees together and expect them to do something together, work together, and achieve some results together. Same thing.
Well, I mean, the theory is that they're supposed to be getting together not for military gains, but for fiscal gains and having a common fiscal agenda and everything. Now, whether that's a creation of another dollar or creation of another standard of money or what that is up in the air. And I've not done enough study of the whole notion of BRICS, but I do know that it's supposed to be more of an economical alliance than a military alliance. NATO and others are seen more as a
And
military.
how well this alliance doing so far? I'm curious.
But like I said, I'd have to talk to people from those countries and everything, and I don't even know what the agenda is in terms of how they are creating things along those lines. But I do know that that's how they created BRICS, and they've been having, like y'all said, some meetings within that alliance and everything. But it is a notion of creating something to counter the rise of the dollar and the gold standard, which has been here forever and a day. I mean, it's similar to why some people are big on crypto and other people are not big on crypto. But that's just the notion of what I hear from folks that are more aware of the BRICS alliance than probably any of us are, and everything.
You know, Trump actually has very interesting idea to make a stockpile of cryptos in the United States and make it as U.S. major assets. And perhaps, if he is lucky on crypto, indeed will go to $1 million a piece, as a lot of people expecting. Then U.S. will easily cover its debt of $35 trillion. So this is a fantastic plan, and I wish Trump a lot of success. He doesn't need to be president for doing that. He might suggest that as a American weapon, and I think Kamala Harris will maybe listen to him. Maybe not.
Who knows? They might have that idea and everything. Hey, tell me one thing I was curious to your thoughts around as we're talking about politics is I do see that it looks like the Democrats are courting the labor vote. I know that Mr. Van, who I think runs the UAW, and all along those lines, I'm thinking I'm saying that name correctly, and everything has come out in support of Kamala Harris. It does look like they're doing a number of a push to get labor behind the Democratic ticket, and labor has been definitely part of that coalition, the Democratic coalition, in the past. So I just wonder your thoughts on this notion of a push toward labor.
They actually had the labor leaders that were behind Biden, but they were just like everybody. Nobody was enthusiastic about Biden. The thing is, everybody is enthusiastic because a change was made at the top for a younger individual. And now there's such a big push that even the individuals within the labor unions now are starting to shift towards Kamala because she's pretty much saying the same thing that Biden's saying. But because she's young and she has that youthful energy that people see and she can campaign, and then not to mention, people begged for a change at the top and it happened. So they feel that they do have some skin in the game more now than with Trump, because when you have JD Vance going on to the tarmac telling people, hey, I'm just checking out my plane that might be here. It's not your plane, it's the country's plane. So why are you saying my plane as if it's your thing? So it again, you have just a lot of energy. What Kim talked about earlier, the earlier Trump interview, that was just a rambling nuttiness again. And I'll say it again. The worst mistake
Yeah, it was.
Trump made was picking JD Vance. Nobody knew JD Vance, and JD Vance has said some crazy things. Him saying crazy things puts a spotlight back on Trump because before it was baked in the cake. And now you have such a change at the top of the ticket for the Democrats that's already bringing that youthful energy. Now you have under Trump somebody saying crazy stuff, which kind of scares people, and people are starting to have a second thought about it. Now they're actually able to hear what Trump is saying. So with that interview that he just gave today, which was really ridiculous, he just went on about his crowd size when he was asked about Israel, Palestine, talking about how he talks to the biggest crowds ever. Even Martin Luther King had a big crowd, but no, we had a bigger crowd. Nobody cares, dude. Let's talk about policies. And that's what's happening now, is that people are starting to hear Trump.
Right.
And now they hear him. Now they're turning away from him, which is what Sasha pointed out on many shows before, is that, hey, people and the Republican Party wanted somebody new too. Now they're starting to really want somebody new because they can hear him now. And it's that MAGA wing that's always going to be diehard for Trump. But with the way things are shifting, because again, you had a poll, the Marist poll just got released. The Marist poll 2 weeks ago had Trump up by a point. Now it has Kamala Harris up by 3. In the battleground states, it has Kamala Harris either tied statistically or leading in in many of the battleground states. So there's a shift that's happened with independents. Biden in 2020, for example, had a good turnout for the Hispanic vote, the Black vote, and so on and so forth. Well, Kamala Harris is now pulling numbers that are starting to come similar to what Biden had in 2020. However, she hasn't even had the bump from the Democratic convention yet. She hasn't even she's just now campaigning. She has only been the leader for only 17 days, and she's already there. So I'm not saying that they should think that, it's already wrapped up. I'm glad they're taking the underdog mentality. I heard somebody, I think earlier today, talk about how Trump loves to be in the underdog. No, he hates it. He hates it with a passion. That's why he says that he's the best of this and best of that. An underdog doesn't say that. An underdog actually fights from behind. Trump is this ego megalomaniac that's begging for attention. And now that he's behind, it's killing him and it's eating him alive. And now you're having these same press conferences where he's attacking and saying all this random crap. And so I think it's going to be interesting. These next few months.
What's killing him also that he is.
I agree with you, Toby. He's just random. Go ahead, Sasha.
He has to debate, number one, a woman. Number two, she's half black and she's half Indian. And because he cannot stand it, even the possibility of losing to a woman who is black and also Indian, that really, he can die during the debates. I wouldn't be surprised if he will just drop dead. It's quite possible. Not that I wish him I wish him to drop dead in about 20 years in jail, where he's going to live for about 20 years for the last year of his life. That's like
you
more
put
like
20 years in jail.
Yeah, that would be great. And
Don't
forget that here's a debate between prosecutor and a criminal. I even don't understand how American people even think about whom to vote for. Here is a prosecutor with a great track record and a felon, really a criminal, a con man, and his poorest track record of all presidents in all history of the United States. I don't understand how American people can stand for that. Really don't.
Well, again, it's J.D. Vance.
I don't understand how anyone can listen to him.
Well, I like I said, I think J.D. Vance is the smelling salt.
Look at what they're coming up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything that Trump says, all of it's nutty. But because I was just going to say, but because it's a cult mentality and it's been that way for years now, it's been locked in. People don't care. People, let's talk about what the Democrats are doing. People don't care about what Trump is saying because there was somebody who I remember saying, well, he always says crazy stuff. Okay. But we should normalize that. And that's why I said JD Vance was the worst move he ever did because he became the smelling salts.
Here is
I'm gonna just tell you.
I agree, and I like that term. I think so many people. Right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention how wimpy
Sasha?
the Republicans are. What a wimpy crowd. Because if you take a look, they're all going under Trump because they are scared of his vindictiveness. They are scared to be left over. Even Nikki Haley, who by all rights should have been a nominee for president or at least a vice president, even she endorsed Trump because of her fear that for at least 4 years she will have no position in cabinet, she will be nobody, and she will be ostracized by all Republicans. So they're all being scared of Trump and his shadow. This con man, this complete idiot, this man who is a really human garbage, and they are all going under him, and they are waiting until I don't know, maybe he'll die, or maybe he'll just walk away one day, maybe to jail, or maybe something else will happen. And by the way, don't forget the stakes in this election. Kamala Harris may lose this election, so most likely she will be back in 4 years. Trump, if he'll lose this election, he'll never be back anywhere. The only place where he's going to be is a jail. That's all there is to do. That's why stakes are so high.
So let me ask you this. Why is it we haven't heard any more about his sentencing? Why has that been delayed so
11th
long?
of September.
Does anyone know?
September 11th. That's a date.
It's because of from what I read, it got pushed back due to the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court. So that's the only reason why I got pushed back. But now, from what I gather, or what I also read, is that Biden put out there that he's trying to push Congress. I think it was Congress to take away immunity from the presidency, as well as something else. But yeah, he was trying to push for immunity to be removed from the presidential office.
But that case with 34 felony charges, it's not subject to immunity anyway, because all of that was done when he was not even a president. And even when he was a president and signed checks to Michael Cohen, they cannot be perceived as his presidential duties anyway. So all this garbage that the Supreme Court...
So, and they already did that. They already had a hearing on that prior to this. So there was a judge ruling that none of what was existing for this hearing, for the hush money hearing, as they called it, that none of it was his presidential duties. So that's the immunity, that is not in question. So why didn't they take that judgment? Because that judgment's already been made. I'm just curious. The judgment was made in New York.
On September 11th, it's been announced the sentencing, and the judge, in that case, asked both sides to prepare the briefs. So he would take a look before the sentencing date. The prosecutor provided that. Trump's people, they're preparing it, or maybe they will not even bother with that. So waiting for September 11th.
I mean, all Trump's team does is stall. So, yeah, they're quote unquote preparing it. They're stalling for time.
Yeah, they're stalling for time. But if he will lose that election,
I know they're stalling for time.
Again,
I'm just curious why there's such a delay. It shouldn't have happened based on the other ruling, but I'm curious why they're pushing to keep delaying it. There are probably some other rules into play that because he is running for political office that apparently, yeah, maybe they can't push to incriminate him. But like you said, Sasha, a lot of it was done prior to him becoming a president, and then some of it had nothing to do with presidential duties at all. So,
Absolutely.
and I think that is important, but his followers don't see that. All they see is oh, you're just trying to ruin his campaign, and I mean, I'm torn in my brain why people can't see the truth.
Well, the truth is that Biden had disastrous debates with Trump. Shortly after that, there was the Republican convention, and it was appearance that the coronation of Trump is just a matter of time, that it's all already been decided, that there is no question who is going to be a president, and so on. So everything was heavily favored in Trump's favor. Now, when Kamala Harris became the nominee for Democrats, and all the ratings and everything now all changed completely. So now the Democrats activated their rhetorics. They asked what's happened with the sentencing. Sentencing was immediately announced as of September 11th. So everything is back on track. And even trial of resurrection on January 6th, that is going to be pushed to try. Doesn't matter the election or no election, he's president or he's not president, go ahead. There is no one is above the law in the United States. That's my opinion.
Right. I agree. No one's above the law, and except for Trump, it seems like. But hopefully, that will be rectified in the near future. But that's always been on my mind as to why we had to delay that. Nobody else gets delayed like that. But
some people that are very much into a martyr syndrome and everything. So if they feel that he is being martyred, then there is nothing you can say that would get them to change their mind. Because I have friends just like you do that are very on the Trump campaign and on the Trump bandwagon, and they just feel that he is being persecuted. So if they feel he's being persecuted, and we continue to say negative things about him, I don't know that you can get them in their head that he's not being persecuted. And I'm not saying that they're right, but that is kind of the mindset of a lot of people out of that particular camp and everything. So I don't know how you would counter that.
The only way to counter that, again, and I'll say it again, was his big mistake, J.D. Vance. People don't like J.D. Vance even in Trump's camp. But the thing is J.D. Vance is saying the same things Trump is saying. And people hear J.D. Vance saying it, they don't like it. So we're never going to be able to convince.
Well, okay, so there are a lot of people who don't like him, but I will tell you right now, there are a lot of rednecks who love him, who think he is everything. And the more I kind of looked, I got tired of looking up his stuff because I just think it's a bunch of junk. But the more I got into looking as to why did Trump pick him, it was because he ran his mouth hard and heavy against Trump, calling Trump every illicit kind of name you can think of. And I think Trump saw him as an aid to his means of being able to run people in the ground. So somebody who now has a running mate who is, good quality person, no matter what they say about him. He is good quality. He's given his life to our country. He's given life to, teaching people and serving us. And I don't, honestly, it's really sad. The worst thing that they can do is paint a picture of him with a milk mustache and a horse behind him, which I thought was very rude. I think whoever did that should be sued. But that's the worst. I mean, all they can do is find ways to pick on them. No, I didn't hear Trump say anything of what he was going to do. I didn't even hear him say he's going to send the immigrants back. I didn't hear him say anything like that. It was how Biden and Kamala failed their jobs, how they're stupid. That's all he's talked about. He didn't talk about anything about them. Nothing.
That is their platform. Their platform is that Project 2025, yep. Which is changed, which is written as Agenda 47, but it's still Project 2025. It's very unpopular. They're not going to talk about that. But because the MAGA wing doesn't care about that. The MAGA wing just wants to hear you call names, say bad things about how you're supposed to hate this person. That's the MAGA group. And that's the easy messaging that they buy into, and they'll grab those the names that they Little Marco and all this other stuff. They eat that up. That is what it is. And that's why I try and point out that listening to Kamala Harris,
so simple-minded.
And so this is why I say, like, listening to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz actual campaigns is a breath of fresh air, regardless of whatever party you're from. They're talking about, hey, this is, it's weird to do this, but come on, this is what we should be doing. And this is the future that I'm trying to do, where we want to go. And it's a much more positive, hey, you may not like me, but let's just have fun and laugh. Let's have a party. Let's joke, and all. That's what it feels like watching those campaigns and those whenever they speak. But when it comes to Trump and JD Vance, is I'm going to dominate you. You should hate anybody who says anything different than what we're telling you what to hate on. You're going to hate this. You're going to hate that. You're going to hate your next door neighbor because they're against me. So that's not what we're supposed to be. And I think that's why, and I tried to express this before, is that because, yes, not everybody's going to think alike, but there is a blind spot in these polls. And the economy, Trump wins on. Immigration, Trump wins on. Those two, we keep saying that's what the election is going to be about. Well, if that's what the election is going to be about, Kamala Harris shouldn't be winning. So there's a blind spot that we're not even thinking about, and that's where that energy, that's where that positive affirmation and discussion, and I think people are just tired of the same old. We should hate each other, and they're moving away from that, and that's where the independents are shifting, and that's where when Sasha, when you pointed out that Trump had the RNC in the assassination attempt, which in terms of the polling wise gave him a big bump in the polls, but the Democrats have had it since then. And that's because it's been a positive message. That whole RNC convention was, let's hate them. Everything since, Biden stepped down was, hey, you guys helped us. We're going to do this. Let's do this together. We're all in this boat together. Let's stop hating each other. Even when she didn't even really shout down the Palestinian protesters that were at her events. She just legitimately said, "Hey, look, I'm speaking now. If you want Trump to win, I'm speaking." It was a truly boss move. It was a true, hey, you guys, I hear you. Let me talk. And it was a good move at a rally to do, rather than all the other stuff that takes place. But it's just been a more positive thing. And I think that is that blind spot that we're forgetting. The whole country was upset that Biden had such a poor performance at the debate, because the country was looking for something different other than Trump. And that's why I think that dominated the news headlines more so than Trump's lies and Trump's missteps, because people were hoping and pinning their hopes all on Biden on this debate. And when he failed and flopped, the whole world was all screwed up. But now the whole world has hope because this feels like a 2008 type deal with Obama, because it's like, hey, this is inspiring me. People are voting for Kamala and not against Trump. So because they're voting for something, you're inspiring for something, and that's grabbing people. And that's
It's
the whole, I mean, the country
it's
itself.
not a double negative, right?
Yeah. Right now, you have something to vote for, and not really. I'm taking the lesser of two evils. You can hate her, you can dislike her policies, but again, she's fun. It's exciting. I mean,
Yeah,
and it's talking.
and they just agreed.
They disagree, but it's just like there's Republicans for Harris right now. That's something new. Why? Because they see the democracy side of things. Because
So they just agreed to the debate. On ABC.
There
Yep.
will be 3 debates:
Okay.
one NBC, ABC, and
They just agreed.
three
They just
debates.
agreed about 2 hours ago. So there you go, folks. We've got a debate date. Let's see what happens. You know, I still would like to know what terms Trump put in it, because he's been out of pocket for 2 days. Not campaigning, not talking to the public. And then he comes out with these 3 options to debate. Not the original debate date. Oh no, we can't do that. But which I think Kamala was all set to do. So you got to wonder what's up his sleeve. I mean, his first attack was Fox News only, and then I guess he went and negotiated deals with the other networks. But I'm curious what's up his sleeve. So we'll see. But
he's got to come up. His sleeve is he's trying to come up with something that sticks. And he, ever since the RNC, he can't find anything that sticks to Kamala. And every time he's gone down the road, his real personality pops out, like at the National Association of Black Journalists. That was a racist. I mean, it was just so bigoted, everything he was saying. He said the same thing at his interview just a little while ago. It's just, that's the real Trump. And because he's behind, so we're going to have a month away from September. And if he keeps, the DNC, Kamala's going to get a bump from the convention. And if he's far behind, and that stuff popped out already where he's getting racist and the antsy and complaining, all bets are off as to what's coming, by September 10th. I mean, if he could stay focused, honestly.
I mean, all they're about is, yeah, all they're about is shaming, spreading fear and lies, and and pointing blame. That's all they're about. They are not about what we need as people. They're all just about pointing blame, yelling, screaming, shaming. Everything's shaming. If you look at it, the MAGA group is about shaming people and bringing them down, not lifting them up. And actually last night on PNR, which I missed, but they had a thing on, why are people so more interested in beating down than lifting up? The campaign is all about beating down, not lifting up. People are all about it. Yes, Sasha.
Major news from Ukrainian front. Ukrainians are deploying thousands of drones inside Russian territory. There is no place to hide. They are a bombardment of this Kursk region, but also a couple of other neighboring regions are under attack. And Russians, they don't have any defense. They have attacking forces on Ukrainian territory. Their own territory is completely defenseless. And I wouldn't be surprised if they will start attack on Moscow in the next few days. Really attack, just very, very.
So we won't need Trump.
Huh?
We won't need Trump for that. What will Trump campaign on now? If that war is over, we won't need him.
Look, he's a tired old man. He has to get himself a ticket to India or some other country and just stay there until he'll die. Because in the United States, there is only one way for him to end his days.
Well, and until then, we will update you tomorrow with Sasha. We'll have an update for you tomorrow on the Russian Ukraine. We might not even have to worry about a war after tomorrow with the drones coming in. That's technology for you folks. And until then, have a great day. Stay healthy so you stay wealthy.